Are you experiencing a short fuse with your spouse? Whenever you have a short fuse with someone that you're trying to communicate with and you're not being very successful at, you get to explore your fuse and that person's fuse. And that's an acronym and a concept that I created to help you understand why you relate and interact and communicate with the people the way you do. Knowing your fuse and the fuse of your spouse and all those other people around you whom you love and want to communicate effectively with is essential for a healthy relationship. Fuse is also an acronym, and we're gonna start with the F, which stands for filter. Imagine that you have a filter just like the AC. And what happens with the AC filter is that the air flows through it. It keeps the impurities in that filter so that the clean, fresh air can come out on the other side. But what happens when that filter is full of debris and there's been construction and there's a lot of dust in your house? Is that filter gonna serve its purpose? Is it going to catch the contamination, leave it there so that the clean air comes out and you can breathe fresh air? No. What's gonna happen is that when the air goes through the filter, it's gonna pick up on all the debris that's inside of it, and it's gonna come out more dirty than it probably went in. And the same is true with our filter. We just don't even know we have a filter. So we don't even try to clean it or go and explore it. In our filter, we have all our biases, our values. So there's good things in our filter as well. Our paradigms, our beliefs, everything is in our filter. So what happens is, when your spouse tells you the fish is salty, and in your filter, you tend to feel that anything that's a constructive feedback is an insult, and it's a judgment, and he doesn't care about anything you do, and he doesn't appreciate you or anything you do. If that's in your filter, if that idea and that paradigm is in your filter, when he says that, you're gonna interpret through your filter, oh, here he goes again. He doesn't appreciate anything I do, and he's entitled, and he's all these things, right? So your interpretation is based on what is in your filter. And I've heard this quote, and I think it's so true. We see the world not the way the world is, we see the world the way we are, and that's because of the filter. The U in Fuse stands for unconscious triggers. Unconscious means that you're not aware of something, and triggers are those buttons that when someone pushes them, you explode, and you react emotionally and irrationally. Well, we all have our triggers, but I believe we typically have like a base one. And usually that main trigger in our lives stems from one of two umbrella categories that I've come up with. So don't quote, you're not gonna find this anywhere in the books. It's all based on incredible case studies and experience in the past 20 years. So what happens is that usually people have one of two triggers. The I'm not good enough trigger, meaning like those are the people who, whenever you say like, oh, you know, what is this cup doing here? And your husband spent all day making sure that the house was picked up and everything was in order, and you came and you just said, oh, what is this cup doing here? Which he missed. He may feel like, oh, you never see anything good I do. Nothing I do is good enough. You're impossible to please. I give you something and you always want more, and I'm always gonna fail, right? When you feel and you're triggered and you react that way, or you filter information that way, typically the trigger stems from the I'm not good enough umbrella category. And then the other one is the I don't matter umbrella category, right? Like that's when you feel like, oh, you don't consider me, you don't care about me, you don't make time for me. You know, like I had to find out that you were doing this through your mom instead of you telling me and taking me into account, right? When you tend to feel those experiences, that's probably because you are triggered by the I don't matter, you know, kind of category, which you may see in a different way, right? People who struggle with abandonment may be in the I don't matter category. People who struggle with self-consciousness, self-esteem, confidence may be in the I'm not good enough category. So your triggers there's usually one main trigger. Find it. Find yours and find your spouse's, because understanding that will help you create interventions, communications that allow you to minimize that trigger from being, that little button from being pushed. The S in Fuse stands for style. You've heard about the love languages and how we tend to feel loved in a certain language. Well, this is style. Style is the way you feel comfortable communicating, interacting with your loved one. And when it comes to the actual communication skills, you get to pay attention to, am I the kind of person that wants to fix the problem in the moment, in the spot? Let's talk about it and resolve it right now. Is my spouse the kind of person who needs to cool down and chill and process it so that then he can come and have a conversation, right? If your style is to fix it in the moment and his is to process it and cool down and talk about it later, and you push him to do it right now, that's going to further hinder your relationship. So you get to pause and be like, okay, what are his triggers? What's his fuse? And how can I act in ways or implement communication skills that support both of us? Where I can get an answer, maybe not right away, but in a couple of hours, to honor myself and honor my spouse. The E in Fuse stands for expectations. Oftentimes, our relationships and our communication fail because of unmet expectations. I have a client who came in for the first time and she was like, no, I'm here because my husband doesn't do this and doesn't do that, and he didn't respond this way, and he didn't say that thing that I wanted him to say, and he didn't do this. And I'm like, okay, so what did your husband do? No, because he didn't do this, and he didn't say that, and he didn't act this way. And I'm like, but what did he do? And at this point, she's thinking I'm an idiot because I don't get it. And my point was, he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't meet your expectations. He didn't act the way you wanted and expected him to act. He didn't get the memo that it was mind reading day and he was supposed to be the way you wanted him to be at that point. But for that, you should have married yourself if you wanted someone exactly like you. Just kidding. Unmet expectations are the problem that usually hinder relationships and affect them deeply. So you get to explore if your expectations are in alignment with your spouse's. Is what you want from that person, does it make sense? Think about it. I had someone share that she was on a diet, she hates McDonald's, and her husband went to McDonald's, grabbed dinner for him and the kids, and didn't bring her anything. And she was like, if it would have been me, I would have called to ask if I wanted something, and he didn't even. I'm like, wait a minute, but aren't you on a diet and you hate McDonald's? He was thinking of you when he did not call you to ask about your food, because you probably would have been upset if he called you and you were like, oh, he doesn't even know me, asking me if I want McDonald's. You see how we make it difficult for our spouses? And that's because we have unreasonable expectations. So rethink, explore, and align your expectations and make sure that you're both on the same page when it comes to that. So explore your fuse, understand your spouse's fuse, and start having healthy, awesome conversations and communications in your relationship. If this video was helpful, make sure you share and you like. And if you want more support in communicating effectively with your spouse or anybody in your life, reach out to my team at betterwithbetsy.com.